After coefficient of determination, now we will also test for overall model fit, which we call it as F test, and then significant variable, which is the significant independent variable, which we call it as regression coefficient test, which is nothing but your t test, right. So, this is overall model fit test and this is a individual variable significance test. So, both comes under hypothesis test. So, this holds the key for whether we can implement the regression model or not. Let us dwell deep into it. So, obviously simple linear regression is what we discussed before, and what we are discussing is a multiple linear regression. In simple linear regression, so what is simple here? Simple linear regression, independent variable is only 1, whereas in terms of multiple linear regression, independent variable is more than 1, right. So, in terms of F test, so if you recollect F test is nothing but analysis of variance in this case, right. What is the hypothesis for F test? F test hypothesis is all the means, right. So, whatever sample we are taking, the means, usually ANOVA is applied for more than 2 means, right. So, whenever you have more than 2, let us say we have 3 means to be compared for the sample. So, hypothesis is all the means of this respective sample are equal, and alternate hypothesis is not all means are equal, right. So, in this case for regression, right, so for MLR what happens, this mu1, mu2, mu3 is nothing but your regression coefficients, right. So, here it says beta 1 is equal to beta 2 is equal to beta 3, right. So, that means all the regression coefficients are equal to 0, right. So, what happens if all the regression coefficients are equal to 0, then the regression model becomes invalid, we cannot use it for prediction. Why so? Let us see this. Y is equal to, let us say, beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3. Let us say there are only 3 variables. Now, if beta 1 and beta 2 and beta 3 all are equal to 0, what happens? This entire thing is equal to 0. So, that means the independent variable is not accounting for any variation in the dependent variable, which is waste of our time. So, I need to test that first before I go for actually looking for individual significance, right. So, if all the things are 0, you do not need even to move, right. So, that means there is no relationship between the dependent variable and the independent variable. So, that is what we will be testing here. Alternate hypothesis, at least one beta is different from 0, right. So, in this case for multiple linear regression we have more than 2 variables. So, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3 will have. In terms of simple regression, there is only one independent variable, and hence H naught for ANOVA will be based upon only one mean. So, that is why here we are saying that F test and T test are equal. So, beta 1 equal to 0 and alternate hypothesis is beta 1 is not equal to 0, right. So, F test and T test are same because here there is only one independent variable, that is what is said here. In simple linear regression, F and T test provides the same conclusion. In multiple linear regression, the F and T test have different purposes, that is what I was just telling. Now, in this case, F test is basically used to determine whether a significant relationship exists between the independent variable and the dependent variable. That is what I referred as set of all independent variables, and hence it tests for overall model significance or what is called as model fit. And if the F test shows an overall significance, the T test is used to determine which individual. So, F test says that whether overall some relationship exists between the independent variable and the dependent variable. Then once we have finalized and some relationship exists between the independent set of all independent variables and the dependent variable, then we move on to T test, which we eventually are going to go for in terms of understanding among all those set of independent variables which variable is significantly contributing. That is basically you go for T test. A separate T test is conducted for each of the independent variables in the model. Further moving on, and this we refer as test for individual significance. So, the F test we referred as test for overall significance, whereas T test we refer as test for individual significance. So, F test goes like this hypothesis, right. So, this is a multiple linear regression hypothesis. As I said, all the betas are equal to 0 will become your null hypothesis, and alternate hypothesis at least one of them is different from 0. And test statistics is nothing but your F distribution, because we are testing the analysis of variance here, that is mean sum of squares of regression divided by mean sum of squares of error, and this we get from the ANOVA table. So, what is the rejection rule? So, whether to accept or reject the null hypothesis. So, I will come up with the acronym, which is p value less than or equal to alpha value, then reject the null hypothesis, right. So, remember this, your entire hypothesis testing, this is the decision criteria you need to make, right. So, what is this? P value less than or equal to, p value is less than or equal to alpha value you know that, right. So, alpha value, then you reject the null hypothesis, right. We ideally want to reject the null hypothesis, because we do not want all the coefficients to be 0, right. So, this is one condition if at all you are going for p value approach. If you are going for critical value approach, then F calculated, that is F greater than F alpha. So, if you remember the F distribution, it goes something like this, right, it goes something like this. F alpha, let us say this is your F alpha, right, then we put this towards your left is your acceptance region or do not reject region we call, and whatever is towards the right side of your F alpha is called as rejection region. If the F value falls in this, that is F, or what you call it as F calculated value, falls in this rejection region, then again we reject the null hypothesis. That is what is given here, right. And in terms of calculating this, we need what is called as F table, right. So, just remember this at the back of your mind. Now, these days Excel is there to give the F value, but in this case we are going only for F table.